Serious, what was the happiest moment of your life? My best day was very recently. It was back in April. I met a guy so rude, but so good at the game I play, and after a few days we were kind of the only people online. So we just talked. Out of nowhere I had a feeling I could trust him, and I'm bad at trusting. Even now he's the only person I fully trust, and it's because of my depression and a lot of stuff preventing me to trust people. So I told him my secrets and all he did was hug me in virtual, and it was so great for someone to not judge me anymore. But after a few days he got in a boot camp and now we just talk for a week and I don't even know when he's getting a rest. But even though he needs rest he would straight up be there whenever I need him, which is something that keeps me living peacefully and still single and he's taken. It's because whenever I tell dudes that he's the guy I only trust, they straight up be saying I love him size hard life, but his girl is lucky to have him. My mom talked about my fiance's mom and her talking about having their kids get married when they were pregnant. Our mothers met from some group for pregnant moms, and they had us months apart, and in a slight disappointment we were both boys thinking we wouldn't get married. Ended up getting engaged. The first thing she told me was that she had imagined my fiance's mom having a boy and her having a girl, so they could get married and have kids. It was the sweetest thing ever. Just the fact that she was like, I didn't think of that, but this is great too. My mom has breast cancer, and I'm trying to spend as much time with her as possible. I really hope treatment goes well for her as I pushed her away beginning in middle school. This is awesome. I'm sure your mom appreciates your presence, and I wish you and your fiance the best of luck. I'm young, so I'm sure this doesn't compare to many, but when I woke up to my girlfriend at the beach, it was a really nice hotel room, and we had fallen asleep on the couch that converted to a bed watching TV the night before. The sun rose, visible through the wall-sized balcony windows. It lit up the room in a bright orange over the white-themed room. I looked over to her, and she opened her eyes, her bright hazel blue eyes. She looked up with me with those narrow morning eyes, and said, "Good morning, handsome." I remember actually feeling lightheaded, being overwhelmed with happiness. I kissed her, and I swear I've never felt that happy in my life before. I think about that morning during my hardest times and never fails to cheer me up. So, for context, I lie and hide stuff from people a lot. I would literally be bleeding and tell people to chill if they saw me. Actually did that one time. Suffice to say I had a lot of issues because of my repression. 2 years in a college degree I don't want, a couple of short bad relationships, and diagnosed depression later. I felt pretty much zero motivation to do anything. I nearly failed 2 subjects because I simply couldn't care less. Went home and opened up about everything. A lot of tears later, I finally felt like I had people who'd have my back. Best day. TL. Doctor, sad boy opens up about sadness, gains confidence. In 2015 I met a cute boy via a very dorky game at the time called Garry's Mod that I flirted with relentlessly on Skype sessions until we eventually fell for each other and started dating. I was 16, he was 17, I lived in NC at the time, and he was in Indiana. He drove for over 12 hours to come and see me for the first time, and when I opened the door, we immediately hugged, shaking with anxiety, but immediately in love. He took me to the beach at midnight, where we had our first kiss. I think that was overall the happiest night of my life. I judged him well, because we are still together, and coming up on our 4-year anniversary. The happiest day of my life was when my antidepressants started to kick in last year. I realize how on the nose that is, but this really means a lot to me. I was more awake during the day. I could feel excitement for things to come. I didn't want to harm myself anymore. I felt more connected to my surroundings, no more dissociation. I had an easier time remembering things. I was so elated and excited to tell all my friends who knew of my situation how happy I felt, and I couldn't stop smiling. I have only gotten better since then. I'm always so grateful for where I'm at now. What were you taking? Think I need some too. Either way, the day I got together with my ex, on my way back home I was the luckiest guy alive. Had to drive for 30 minutes, and could do nothing else than smile. Coming home, being pumped with endorphins, and to write her that I enjoyed the time with her, and can't wait for her to come back. She had to go over the weekend, or the day we moved together. I was finally feeling that I found my place shortly after we began to adopt stray dogs to find final homes for them, and I thought, well, this is the best life you could imagine. Having the girl you love more than anything else. Haven't helped dogs. The worst time began when I had to move out. When I was off my old anti-epileptic medication for the first time in 2 years and I could think clearly. The 2 years prior I constantly felt like my brain was stuck in a very thick cotton ball. My memory went straight into the trash can, and I was miserable. As soon as the last of it was out of my system, I went straight to crying. I could think. I could remember things as easily as I used to. I was essentially back to normal. My now husband was just sitting beside me awkwardly while I kept memorizing stuff and repeating it to him. We still laugh about it to this day because that was weird. Great but weird. The day I asked my friend to join me to prom, and she decided that same day she'd ask me out on a date. Coincidentally, the day we broke up was the worst moment. At least it happened, and you have wonderful memories of those days. She dumped me a day later. Oh, I kinda lived this. My 2 best friends went through something similar. Did you lose your friendship? No, but it is still very rocky. This happened only a few months ago. Just try to be mature about it and take your time if needed. Take some distance if you feel like you need it. My recent most happiest moment is when I got a job offer. It meant a lot because I had been looking for a job for a year on a visa that is running out next month. This job offered me a new visa to stay in the country where my so and I live together. The expiration on my current visa has been a ticking time bomb in our lives, breaking our hearts one day at a time, knowing we would be continents apart. Not anymore. I start in a week. I'm beyond happy. And I also have financial independence from my emotionally abusive parents now. Game 5 of the 2017 World Series. Astros fan. It went 13 innings and was 5-1, 2 hours. Longest game in World Series history. Most people will say this was a top 5 game in MLB history. The ups and downs of this game made me wish I had a heart rate monitor on. I laughed, I cried tears of joy, and couldn't stop smiling. I have been a die-hard fan my whole life, and being able to be a part of history like that and see it in person was unreal. Sorry future kids. Sadly it involved drugs. I was tripping on LSD, walking home from a party down a wooded path. I was hot as the night air was humid and thick, so I stopped and sat down for a few moments. As I was sitting there looking out over the woods lighted by a sodium vapor lamp, everything awash with that amber glow, a feeling of utter contentment fell on me. I sat there for what seemed like hours, just watching the trees sway in the wind, knowing that everything that was bothersome in my life was perfectly normal, and that I would be alright. When my son was born, and he looked at me for the first time, I've had many great moments in my life but nothing can compare. Can't imagine this feeling. Must be a very special moment. Mine too. When they put me on his chest, and he looked up at me, mind blowing. Every moment of pain I'd been experiencing for the past 9 months was just completely forgotten. Being able to finally hold him felt beyond words. I treasure that memory so much. Moments I look forward to in life. I have one friend in the world. We met because our parents met to abuse us together, and we became sort of allies, making it all a little easier to endure. A few weeks after Rye got rescued and her father was arrested too, we managed to get back into contact and eventually meet in freedom. Not having lost her, still being able to spend time with each other and learning to be normal together, that made that first meeting in freedom the happiest moment of my life. Would love to hear your story, my dude. I honestly can't remember ever being significantly happy. Yeah, I also don't have a extraordinary happy moment. Me neither. Maybe someday. Hopefully. Hopefully for everyone in here that hasn't experienced it. Perhaps that moment is simply waiting to happen. Life's a weird thing. It plays out different for everyone. My peak in life was at 8 years old, and some 40-year-olds are just now having that moment. It'll happen, man. The day my mother gave birth to my youngest sister. Her birth was highly risky and there was a chance that she or the baby would die, so everyone was on edge when she went into labor. I remember me and my middle sister missing school that day, staying at my grandparents' house, and suddenly my aunt burst through the front door yelling, "They made it, the baby is here." She quickly drove us to the hospital, and seeing my mum alive holding a healthy baby girl made me so overwhelmingly happy. I can't think of the happiest moment of my life. I can just think of numerous ones. Most recently it's been being able to play guitar again after a 3 to 4 year hiatus thanks to CTS tendonitis. I still feel pain, especially when I overdo it, but it's not as intense as it was before, and now I know how to try to prevent the pain from getting really bad. It makes me happy, because I'm playing way better than I used to. And it was something that was missing from my life. Just after the final song of our set list ended on our final gig in 2012. It was a charity gig for over 1,000 people and they were so into it. I couldn't see one person that wasn't staff not cheering or shouting encore. It was the perfect summary to a perfect 2 years of music college, 2 years of gigging, 2 years of amazing music experiences, 2 years of amazing mates. It was truly the last time I felt alive. The day I realized that the friend who had helped me through my first breakup, the friend who offered me a place to stay when the alternative was for me to go back to my country of origin and my abusive parents, the friend who helped me through all my anxiety attacks and lows from depression, was actually the guy I had fallen in love with over all the time we had been friends. We are still together, BTW. The happiest day of my life so far has been when I was able to meet my boyfriend for the first time. We had been talking for months before then, and we finally got to see each other in person. Having the opportunity to hug him and simply be around him made those few days the best of my life. After more than a year of being together, we make it work, and our visits continue to make me happy. I don't know, I'm luckily very often happy, but a moment I remember as a great time was a time me and my 3 good guy friends I'm a girl was doing math work together. I was hearing a good happy song in my headphones at the time, which might have affected the moment, and just watched them talk and make fun of each other. That moment I realized how grateful I'm for our friendship,